living in shadow of a dead legacy. For 3 years, I lived in a house that felt like a museum dedicated to someone else's ghost. My stepbrother, Kyle, wasn't just a memory, he was a shrine. He died in a car accident at 17, 2 years before my mom married his dad, Robert. I walked into a life where his room was preserved, a perfect time capsule. His varsity jacket still hung on his chair. His smell, like old cologne and library books, was still in the air. Every dinner began with, "Kyle used to love this meatloaf. I tried, God, I tried. I joined the same baseball team he captained. I got a B+ in advanced chemistry, the class he aced." But it was never about me. It was about how I measured up to a memory they polished to a blinding shine. A memory that could never talk back, never disappoint. The breaking point was the National Merit Scholarship letter. I'd worked my ass off. While they were at Kyle's annual memorial charity run, I was studying. While Robert told his Kyle and the championship game story for the 1,000th time at dinner, I was writing essays. I didn't even tell them I'd applied. The letter came on a Tuesday. I saw it in the mailbox, my heart trying to hammer its way out of my ribs. Finalist. I was a National Merit finalist. I burst into the house, the paper fluttering in my hand. My mom was in the kitchen with Robert, looking at Kyle's old photo album, again. "Mom, Robert, look." I shoved the letter onto the kitchen island, right over a picture of Kyle at Disneyland. My mom picked it up. Her eyes scanned it. For a second, just a second, I saw it. The pure, unadulterated pride. Her smile started to form. Then, like a cloud passing over the sun, it vanished. She looked at Robert, whose face was stone. This is wonderful, sweetie," my mom said, but her voice was flat. "We're very proud." Robert didn't even look at me. He looked at the letter, then back at Kyle's photo. He cleared his throat. "Kyle," he said, his voice thick with a grief that never aged, never faded, Kyle was a National Merit commended student. He missed being a finalist by a few points. He was so upset about it. The air left the room. The words hung there, toxic and heavy. My mom's face crumpled, not for me, but for Kyle's ancient, near-missed disappointment. "Oh, honey," she said softly, touching Robert's arm. He wanted it so badly. I stood there, the official embossed paper now feeling like a cruel joke. My achievement wasn't mine, it was just a new yardstick to measure the ghost. I hadn't done something great. I'd merely highlighted a slight, years-old failure of his perfect son. "So," I said, my voice strangely calm. "That's it, that's all you have to say." Kyle was commended. "I'm a finalist." Robert finally looked at me, and his eyes weren't sad. They were resentful. "Don't use that tone. You don't understand the pressure he was under. He was a leader. He had responsibilities. You just study." That was the fuse. The 3 years of silent dinners, of my trophies sitting in boxes while Kyle's were dusted weekly, of my mom choosing Robert's grief over my living, breathing presence, it all lit up. "I just study," I roared. The sound was so foreign in their meticulously quiet house of mourning that they both flinched. "I live in the shadow of a dead kid. I sleep down the hall from a museum. I have spent every single day in this house being told, directly or indirectly, that I am a lesser copy of a boy I never even met. That is enough," Robert boomed, slamming his hand on the counter. "No, it's not enough." I turned to my mom, my last, desperate hope. "Mom, please, look at me, see me, just once." She was crying, but they weren't tears for me. They were for the disturbance, for the uncomfortable reality I was forcing into the curated world of memory. "Please, don't shout," she whispered. "Can't we just have a nice dinner? Kyle's favorite." I didn't let her finish. I walked out of the kitchen. I didn't run. I walked slowly up the stairs, past the closed door of Kyle's room, and into my own. I pulled out my old duffel bag. 10 minutes later, I was back downstairs. They were still in the kitchen, speaking in hushed, horrified tones. They stopped when they saw the bag. "Where are you going?" my mom asked, panicked. "To my dad's," I said. My parents had split amiably. My dad lived 2 towns over and had been asking me for years if I was okay. I'd always said yes to protect my mom. "Not anymore. You can't just leave," Robert said, authority creeping back into his voice. I looked at him, then at my mother. "You have a son," I said to her, each word deliberate. "He's in that room upstairs. And he's dead. You are so busy tending to a ghost, you've made another one." The silence that followed was absolute. I walked out. I got in my car and drove to my dad's. I told him everything, sobbing in his living room for the first time in years. He just held me and said, "I know. I've been waiting for you." The fallout was slow and brutal. My mom called, crying, saying I'd torn the family apart. Robert sent a text, "Your mother is devastated. Your behavior was unacceptable. They didn't ask me to come back. They demanded I apologize for the scene. I didn't. I stayed with my dad. I went to therapy. I accepted the scholarship, and I'm going to a university 1,000 miles away this fall." The last time I saw my mom, she asked, "When will you stop punishing us for loving Kyle?" I looked at her, and for the first time, I felt nothing but a distant, hollow pity. "You don't love Kyle, Mom," I said. "You love grieving him. It's safer. Grief doesn't grow up and talk back. Grief doesn't get a B+. Grief doesn't exist outside of you. I just needed you to love me." I left her standing there. I hear from her on birthdays and holidays. The messages are always generic. "Hope you're well." They still post on Kyle's memorial Facebook page every week. Sometimes, the greatest mistreatment isn't malice. It's erasure. It's being forced to live as a footnote in someone else's tragedy, your every accomplishment a dim echo of a ghost's unfinished symphony. I lost my mother, but in a way, I'd never had her to begin with. All she had room for was a shrine.
Did you enjoy the story? Comment what you think about this story. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more.